Indian Turf Invitation Cup weekend marks the pinnacle of glory for Indian thoroughbreds. This March, horses from centres all over the country will congregate at the Royal Calcutta Turf Club to vie for the highest coronation in the game of horse racing. It's the ultimate test for speed, stamina, class and mettle. And this coming Saturday and Sunday, the spotlight will be on Kolkatta for this year's racing extravaganza.
Hello and welcome to the Winning Post. I'm Mohit Lalvani, and on this special episode where we look ahead to, well, what is the biggest weekend of horse racing in India, I've got Mr. Adi Narelwala with me to preview the Invitation weekend of racing. We're going to start with the biggest race of all. Adi, thanks for joining us, but let's start with the biggest race of all, the Indian Turf Invitation Cup, and it's historic because the first time older horses are going to be allowed to run.
True, it's absolutely historic. It's the first time we're going to really see who's the best over the mile and a half, whether the younger crop or the older crop. This is a right year to go by it because we don't have a really outstanding horse from the younger crop running, and older horses have got a fairly good chance.
Now, your racing establishment, you've been spending, you'll have sent some horses across to Calcutta. Clearly, there's a lot happening out there.
Yeah, there is. The stake money is wonderful there. It's the track is a nice track, and we enjoy racing there.
Okay, lovely. Now, let's leave aside the colour and talk about the real business of horse racing, because the first one we'll talk about is the Indian Turf Invitation. We've got a look at the potential runners out here. But Adi, let's talk about the 4-year-olds first. The Indian Derby, the obvious form to this race to start with. Let's talk about the horses there first. Let's talk about the 1-2 Superstorm, Windstream. How do you rate these two against each other? Let's just do a match-up.
I think that Superstorm over a mile and a half has shown that he probably is the better horse. Calcutta Straight being a little shorter than the Bombay Straight, it'll suit him a little more because if Windstream comes from way behind, he's going to find it a little difficult to catch him.
That's right, and Calcutta can be a fairly tricky course as well.
Yeah, and with a whole lot of horses, that means when you're swinging around that last bend, and if you're not in the right position, you can be swinging around way out.
Now let's talk about Hemisphere, because clearly he was the eye-catching run in the McDowell Signature Premier Indian Derby, and at least from your yard, Adi, it's very encouraging, isn't he? How's he doing?
He's doing well. He's improving with each run. I think that if you really ask me, I didn't think that he would be that close in Derby. He's come with a tremendous late run. He was dead last, I think, at the top of the straight, and I'm sure that whoever rides him is not going to make that mistake again.
That's what I wanted to ask you. There's possibly going to be a change in strategy. You mentioned the fact that it's a shorter straight. You really can't take the risk of sitting too far behind.
You can't. You have to be in a good position. I'd say 5th, 6th is the ideal position at the top of the straight.
Now, one horse who is going to be running is an Acquired Taste, and there were question marks on whether he'd get the invite or not, but he was the second reserve after Hemisphere, and it seems that he's going to come through into this race. Adi, now, perhaps rightfully so, they were howling after the race. They got knocked all over the place in the last 400 meters. He was travelling well. Is he good enough to beat this lot? He did win the Ruya.
I thought that actually everybody would have had to beat an Acquired Taste in the Derby. And he did get a lot of interference. If you saw, he got 2 very bad checks down the straight. He's a big striding horse, so when you get these kind of checks and you don't have a smooth run, then you're going to get a fall back. And he's not a horse that you can just pick up and go when you want. You need to get to that one straight good run.
And he certainly is a good horse, so he might be the value for money horse in this race.
Yes, he would be. He'd be at a high price, I think. And I'd say that he would be one of the horses to reckon with.
Let's go outside the Indian Derby. Now let's talk about Maple Star, the filly. Is the Oaks line as strong as the Derby, according to you?
No, not at all. I think that Maple Star won at the Oaks where the horses didn't stay. So she, being a non-stayer herself, proved to be better than the others, and I think it was her class that really carried her through.
All right, let's talk about now the horses from the other centre, because in many ways this is an all-India championship of sorts, and horses come from all over the country to race here. So let's talk about the local horses in Calcutta. Snowscape, of course, is the one that stands out.
He stands out there in Calcutta. I think that he should be the Calcutta #1 nominee. I'm told that they're running Dandified, and I can't see the logic in that, because I would have thought that if Dandified ran the Super Mile, he'd be a walk-it. They seem to, we keep reading that they're going to run the mile and a half. I can't see the logic in that.
Well, possibly we'll keep guessing on that one, but clearly we'll talk about Dandified, not just in this race. Question mark over his ability to get a mile and a half, especially in this field, but clearly over a mile he's going to be a real contender if he does run there. Okay, let's talk about the Hyderabad horses now. Tintinabulation has been based out Hyderabad for a while now, travelled a lot. I mean, this is a horse that really has notched up the frequent flyer miles, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, yes, if you said that a horse who's travelled all over the place, he and Machiavellism have travelled a lot. I personally don't think that either. I don't think that Tintinabulation has got much of a chance. I don't fancy his chances.
Okay, let's talk about the two older horses that are going to be in this field who clearly look like the horses that might have a chance. Now, we'll talk about Toro Loco first.
Well, he's the horse who's shown that he can get a mile and a half. He's done everything that is asked of him wherever he's run. He's the only horse who's really come out and beaten in the spotlight, who's supposed to be the rage at the moment. I think that he would be a horse that would be difficult to beat.
And finally, your horse Onassis.
Well, I think that we have to beat Toro Loco. I think that we'll be right there. And if you really look at Onassis, he's only been tested over the mile and a half once. That was in Jacqueline's Derby. I think that's a great derby. I think that the way he's in form and the way he loves and relishes racing, he'll be the other horse. I think the race will be between Toro Loco and Onassis.
We'll take a short break and come back. And when we do come back, we'll take a look at some of the great invitation winners from the years gone by. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Winning Post, and with me, Adi Narilwala. We've taken a look at the invitation. We're going to talk about the Sprinters Cup next. But before we do that, let's just rewind, go back into history, take a look at some of the great winners from the Invitation Cup from the years gone by.
"10 years ago, a superstar emerged on the horizon. After defeat in the Derby, a large section of his supporters cried in disbelief and argued endlessly about how the race was won and lost. Now, reunited with champion jockey Aslam Kader for the invitation, there would be no excuses.
But Super Brave in the hands of Aslam Kader is about 3 lengths in front of Tank, giving it me on the outside, 2.5 lengths behind Little Owens in deep trouble and is beaten. 100 meters more to run there. Anthony Super Brave is going further and further away with the classic Indian Turf Invitation Cup in taking style from Thanksgiving. Little over beyond tomorrow, dancing colors red.
Seven years later, a bay gelding came along quietly as a juvenile. However, over the monsoon he got progressively stronger and began to develop into a classic prospect. Despite numerous problems, he began to demonstrate, most of all, a will to win, a vital ingredient in the makeup of any champion. In fact, his jockey Pacey Shroff likened him as one of the bravest that he had ever ridden.
Hello, brother. Back behind them is Proletaurian, and they straight in for the final running, and the one which is coming in the wide outside is Olsenberg, but Storm again kicks away by about 3-4, and it's not going to be caught. 200 in balance, and Pacey Shroff on Storm again is clear of the field by about 5, and Turtle Way, and Storm again wins the Indian Turf Invitation Cup 2001, the colours of Dr. Pulawala and Vijay Mallya and Brilliant Stars.
Indian racing history will tell us that only Squanderer, Red Rufus and Almanac have won the Indian Triple Crown and the Indian Turf Invitation until, in the year 2000, bursting out of the middle of the pack like a champagne cork, a fourth champion wrote his name into the chronicles of horse racing, and the spectators in the stands looked at each other with gratitude, for they had just witnessed greatness.
Smart Chieftain has gone into the lead, about 1.5 lengths too. Congratulations in hot pursuit, but Smart Chieftain, smooth as a Ferrari, going into the final furlong, and Smart Chieftain goes away from them all. Smart Chieftain well in front of Bonza, finishing second.
Nobody was certain about the result, except the owner, In fact, his owner knew the result before the running of the race. His jockey Jimmy Fortune had told him after running fourth in the Derby that he would win the invitation. This prophecy was realized.
Inside, Ministerial also making a forward surge. Another 2 lengths behind on the outside is Crown Treasure, just beginning to get up, but trapped 2 or 3 wide. And Danfuse is the second last, and Bold Aristocrat has fallen back out of contention to lie last. 400 to go in the Classic Indian Turf Invitation Cup. Santoni Star comes up with a big run to take the lead, and Arabian Rose not giving up and comes up with a rerun to take it out. Arabian Rose battles on gamely. Santoni Star on the outside. Arabian Rose. Indictment comes up with a lovely run, and Crown Treasure delivering ground. It's going to be Crown Treasure who comes up with a tremendous run, and it's Arabian Rose, Crown Treasure, Ministerial. It's Crown Treasure, Ministerial in a nip and tuck.
His owner had said that this was the greatest year of his racing life. His jockey said that it was the greatest weekend of his racing life. And 22-year-old Christophe Lemaire made that weekend his own. To his advantage though, he was astride a glorious golden chestnut gelding, and together they performed magic.
But it's the Pelican at the moment by about a length and a half there from El Campidor trying to get out of the pack. Then there's 9, followed by Wild Eagle looking for a run on the inside, and on the wide outside there is Pleasure Hunt. But the Pelican still there from Pleasure Hunt, moving up fast on the outside. The Pelican and Pleasure Hunt, the Pelican and Pleasure Hunt. The Pelican wins this in a breathtaking finish here.
After Star Supreme won the Derby, the invitation seemed a formality, and he was sent off at 10 to 7 on to the start. He was, however, struck by a bolt of lightning.
Forest Fantasy both battling it outline, a close battle, but it is Forest Fantasy probably got a slender lead. Archimedes doing everything but gone a little wide. He's short by about 1 length, and it is going to be Forest Fantasy is going to win the Classic Indian Invitation.
This owner had a magical Sunday. After his burning fire had just won the Super Mile, his 4-year-old colt stole a break from the Derby winner all the way to the winning post. His owner would later reminisce that it was strategy that had won them the day. Only 2 fillies were good enough to break the male domination in the last 10 years of the Indian Turf Invitation. And this was one filly made believers out of doubters on that Sunday.
Running Flame is up on the outside. Saddle up being placed on the inside railing. But it's a super wide and Running Flame. These two are fighting it out. Saddle up coming through the shortest way on the inside railing. Then there's Cloud at the forehead. But it's Running Flame on the outside from super wide on the inside. Then there's Saddle up comes up with a late bit on the outside. Running Flame from super wide. Saddle up. But Running Flame winning the opener from super wide. Then there's Saddle up. Cloud at the forehead. Beautiful big back jump to right. Sunny
The adjective sensational can be truthfully applied to only a number of events over the course of history. And no horse has merited that description more than the winner of the 1995 Invitation Cup. A discard as a yearling, this horse's life has been rewritten as yet another Seabiscuit story. Racing pundits will tell us that the further a horse goes, the slower it will finish. And in 1995, the experts believed that any horse with the speed of the 2,000 guineas winner could not possibly stay the grueling 1.5-mile trip of the Derby and the Invitation. Quite frankly, the experts had failed to recognize a racing phenomena.
What a tremendous horse is this! 300 meters yet to run, and Elusive Pimpernel is extending the margin of lead about 4.5, 5, 6 lengths and going away. But Gonzalez peeking over his shoulder, about 5 lengths clear of Cape Town, running on to take second place. Elusive Pimpernel wins the Classic Indian Turf Invitation Cup.
All right, so there you have it, an Elusive Pimpernel. What a great horse he was, wasn't he, Adi?
Great horse. In fact, he was one of the greatest Indian breds. I think Rashid Bairamji feels that he was probably the best horse he's ever trained. I don't agree with him though. I think Squanderer was possibly the best horse he's ever trained.
Well, I'd like to agree with you for personal reasons, obviously, but they were both great horses. But now, Adi, from a mile and a half down to speed, the Sprinters Cup. This looks like a really tough race on paper. I know you think otherwise, but let's just talk about it. Let's talk about the Bombay horses first. Bullseye, you've got Neffin, and clearly these are your top horses from Bombay.
Neffin has done everything that is asked of him. He's always fired when he's expected to, though he's had a broken career. He's had a checkered career. He runs 2 races, then then takes a little gap, and he comes back again. And when he comes back, he always comes back stronger. I mean, his last win here in SC Jain Sprinters Trophy was something that has really opened our eyes to see that this horse is right there.
Well, let's talk about Bullseye next, Adi, because what he did on Derby weekend, the way he won on Derby weekend, and in a sprint, the way he quickened away from them and went past them as if they were standing still in a 6-furlong race, it's astonishing.
Bullseye has broken the record that day. I think it was a 5-furlong race, isn't it? He broke the record not just by a few points per second. I think he broke it by over a second, full second. The fact that we had Amadeus, who was also nominated, and we decided who ran 3rd in the SC Jain, we decided to keep him here and take Bullseye with us. So I think that we have a very high hope of Bullseye.
So clearly exuding a lot of confidence here.
Yes, I think the race will be between Bullseye and Neffin, if you ask me.
Okay, let's talk about some of the horses. You know, local horses, of course, have a great advantage. And is there anything in this field, Adi, that you feel could just get the run of the race from there? Possibly a Sprint Star, a Speed 6. Some of these horses have really performed in the past and they're good sprinters.
Yes, I've seen the Speed 6 run. I don't think that he's got this kind of caliber to challenge them. Sprint Star, I think, is now on his way down. If you had asked me last year, I would have said, yes, that's the horse to beat. But I don't think he's done really very much after that. I don't know what they're talking about is this Master Bullet from Delhi, who's had some 6 or 7 wins on the trot, and one doesn't know what he's going to be able to do against these horses. But therefore, I think that the field here, 6-furlong race, will be a straight fight between Neffin and Bullseye.
Well, okay, you know what? Oasis Star, of course, was such a great filly. Once again, let's rewind back into history and take a look at this great filly, Oasis Star, and how she stormed home, not just in 1, but 2 Sprinters Cups.
They have a little over 400 to go in the Deccan Bookmakers Association Sprinters Cup. Lady One looks like she's going to pull it off. She's about 4 lengths in front of Oasis Star, Evergina there. Then there is Oyster Cove, followed by Escabros, followed by Woman on Top, Rambaputra, Pastiche, Auxiliary. But inside the last 100 meters, and Lady One coming under pressure as Oasis Star challenges upon the outside. And it's Oasis Star from Bombay with Y.S. Srinath going on to win the Deccan Bookmakers Association Sprinters Cup.
So further behind there is Palacios Sun, then there's Oasis Star, now beginning to creep up on the outsides. Bruce Springsteen, Radiance Precious, and after that is Red Dromia. But just look at Oasis Star. Red Oil is in the lead from Palacios Sun, but Oasis Star comes up with a sweet run on the outside. It's Palacios Sun from Oasis Star. Palacios Sun and Oasis Star coming up on the outside. It's Oasis Star running the better of the two. Oasis Star is about half a length into Palacios Star, rest up all the way behind. Oasis Star creates history here.
All right, so there you have it. Adi, now Oasis Star, you know, she had tremendous abilities, didn't she? She used to just come from absolutely any position.
She actually is, I remember her in the Hyderabad Sprinters Trophy, and she was in really bad trouble at the top of the straight. And he switched her out. I think Srinath was riding her. He switched her out and she just flew. And when she started moving, you knew that she was the only one that was going to pass the post first.
She truly was exceptional. Well, Adi, thanks for joining us. We're going to take a short break here on the Winning Post, and when we come back, we'll wind up our preview of the Invitation Turf weekend of racing. We'll come back, take a look at the Stayers Cup and the Major PK Mayer Memorial Super Mile. Welcome back to the Winning Post. Let's move right along. 2 more races for us to preview, the Mile and the Stayers Cup.
The Stayers Cup and 9 are left in the fray, and of those last year's runner-up, Native Knight is shaping up well. He has the 3,200 meter Suresh Mahendra Cup in his kitty, and add to it his more recent Bike Cup triumph over 2,800 meters, and you will agree that there is no question either on class or stamina. Another Western Indian nominee, Astapi, ran second to in the spotlight in the Indian St. Ledger. That is about his only claim to fame over this distance, but he will need to dig deeper to outclass Native Knight. Drop of Honey has a clean record, having won his last 2 starts, the latest over a mile and a half. But does he or any of the others possess the oodles of stamina required to last out the race at the speed that others like Native Knight will run at? Is the million-dollar question.
The Group 1 Major PK Mehra Memorial Super Mile is the third of the Group 1 races of the invitation weekend. With 8 runners in the lineup, there isn't a standout contender. Vijay Mallya will be represented by 2 runners, the 8-year-old Aristos and the 4-year-old filly Chase the Sun. While Aristos hasn't won in a year, Chase the Sun won the Governor's Cup in Kolkata after winning Kolkata Oaks and 1,000 guineas while running second in the Kolkata 2000. The horse she beat in the Governor's Cup was Deepak Kaitan-owned Arcturus. With a 5 kilo pull in the weights this time around, Arcturus must be the horse to beat in this race. From Bombay, Star of Gibraltar and Ranthambore will provide a battle for the Kolkata horses, and both are in exceptional form. Just half a length separated them from each other in the R in Kanga, and it's likely to be close again. Richard Hughes will take the ride in Burles Kearney, but the son of Ikhtiar hasn't found the winner's circle in over a year.
Well, that's all we have on this episode of The Winning Post. As always, thanks for joining us. Good luck to all the contenders this weekend in Calcutta. Until I see you next week, good luck. May the horse be with you.